stop. It's good to be here. That is not my wife. My wife never comes to these things because she's so nervous for me, which is a real vote of confidence about how it's all going to go. So my name is Brian. My parents intentionally named me Brian with a Y so it wouldn't get confused with brain. But yeah, that still happens anyway. Just a few weeks ago, I was in Houston with my family. We were at a Wendy's, and I put in the order and get the receipt, and it says brain on the receipt. And I'm like, surely the person is going to be smart enough to figure out the Morse code of what actually happened here. But a few minutes later, this lady said, brain, I got an order for brain. And those of you who haven't had that experience, there's like a non-arrogant way to go get your food when everyone thinks you called yourself brain. Like the tension raises in the room a little bit. They're like, if you're so smart, why are you eating at Wendy's? It's especially hard specifically for me because my most distinguishing feature is I have a very large head, which I'll try to go fast to save my time. But I have a size 8 fitted hat. When I got a Dodger hat recently, my friend said, why do they like blow the cobwebs off that? And say, never thought we'd sell Old Blue. So I have someone calling out brain, and this large-headed individual just lurks through the front of the store to come and get the Frosties. It's like not a good look. Whenever I come into a room, I hear the whispers. People are like, wow, where do you get a body like that? People are like, is it CrossFit or does he do Zumba? No, I think he's a jazzerciser. Like, and it's actually none of those things. It's a little class called Aquaburn. And you better believe we get it burning in there. We get it really burning in Aquaburn. When my wife and I were having our first kid, she said, you have a back problem, so it's probably good for you to do some water aerobics and some swimming. So I signed up for the one that seemed the hardest, called Aquaburn. And I showed up at the YMCA. And the class, which still I've been there for about 5 years now, the class was about 30 people every week. There's generally one other male, and most people above the age of 70. I mean, it's been helpful, gotten to know a lot of extra grandmas, and Marge always gives me the update on what's happening at the retirement home. There's either too much salt in the food or not enough, like it's whatever is going on. And it's a bit tough, though, because you're in there working out. The thing that's hard is about every 6 weeks, there's a new lifeguard at the Burbank YMCA. Like, Generation Z just can't hold a job. And so there's some new person looking down on, like, what on earth is this man doing in this class with all of these old ladies? And the toughest part every week is when we do the Tiny Bubbles in the Wine song, which if you hear it when you go wine tasting every few years is not a big deal. But as you're doing the dance moves to it, it's just a little embarrassing. The dance moves go, tiny bubbles in the wine, make me feel happy, make me feel fine. And I kid you not, every time I hear that, every single week, I think, I'm not happy or fine right now, and I don't know if it's worth being able to hold our kids or not to be able to go through this. I'm a pastor at a church in Glendale, which is always like, whoa, hold on. A pastor doing stand-up, I know that's a little bit weird, but Kanye's preaching now, so it seems like anybody can do anything. And then the crowd's like, wait, has he cussed yet? And I haven't yet. I'm used to talking to people without it. Sometimes I do, but I don't know, keep you on the edge of your seat. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But one of the best parts about being a pastor is I get to legitimately be friends with people of all ages. There's a guy who was at my church who I went to visit him in his house. He was showing me around, showing me some stuff. He took me into the backyard and takes me to this shed full of books. He was an avid reader. He's showing me all the books that he had read. And we looked through all of them and came to this corner at the end, about as tall as this stool right here. There were 5 boxes or so full, closed up, marked SSS. Yeah, a little intimidating. He said, Brian, you know what SSS means? And I have no idea. I have no idea, sir. And he said, sex, sex, sex. The only thing that's in these books is sex, sex, sex. That is not what I'm expecting from a mid-80s congregant. And the worst part is then he leaves these clothes after giving me this salacious detailing. He's like, all right, let's head back into the house. And we thumbed through the historical fiction. I'm like, come on, man, like, what is in there? And it bugged me for years. I even thought about breaking into his backyard, but I felt like that would be a little weird. Like, Glendale News Press, a very reputable source, like, breaks the story like, local pastor found going through congregant's porn stash. Like, I had no idea what was in the SSS and what was going on. Then a few years later, my friend passed away, and I realized I had my moment. I go up to his granddaughter at the funeral, and I say, look, my condolences, but I got a question. What was up with the SSS books? And she starts to laugh, and she's like, oh yeah, old grandpa. He really liked country western novels. So they were often illustrated on the cover, and so he would get confused at the bookstore, thinking he was getting a country western novel, and accidentally it was a romance novel. So he would take them home, start to read it, and be like, I guess this goes in the SSS pile. Which, for about 48 hours, I was like, that's one of the great questions of my life, which I finally have answered. I was so thankful. But after a while, I was like, that's still not satisfying. Because how were there like this high, that many books, did he keep like trying to just like, oh, whoops, I guess I made the mistake again. Should I keep reading just to make sure? And it's even more on the family, because when you get that old like things happen or whatever, how's the family like, oh, grandpa, you just brought another one of these trashy romance novels, just throw it in the box. Thank you guys, that's all the time I have for today.